Welcome to this YouTube channel, and in today's video we'll be talking about the mediastinum. So before I start talking about the mediastinum, you should understand that the mediastinum is one of the compartments or one of the spaces you can find in the thorax. Now the thorax, being the upper part of the trunk, is divided into three compartments, which are two lateral compartments and one central compartment. The two lateral compartments, they house the lungs, whereas the central compartment houses the heart, the mediastinum, as we all know. So the mediastinum is divided into superior and inferior mediastinum by a horizontal line known as the sternal plane. As you can see in the diagram, it extends from the sternal angle to the lower border of the fourth thoracic vertebra behind. So it divides the mediastinum into superior and inferior mediastinum. So the inferior mediastinum, as you can see in the diagram, is also divided into three. It is divided into anterior mediastinum, middle mediastinum, and posterior mediastinum. These whole spaces are bounded inferiorly by the diaphragm. They are bounded inferiorly by the diaphragm. So we'll be taking a look at each one of them in the next few seconds. Okay guys, first of all, let us take a look at the superior mediastinum. Now the superior mediastinum, as you can see in this diagram, is painted in green. It is bounded anteriorly by the manubrium of sternum. It is bounded posteriorly by the upper four thoracic vertebrae. It is bounded superiorly by the plane of thoracic inlet, and it is bounded inferiorly by the imaginary line passing through the sternal angle to the lower border of the fourth thoracic vertebra, which is also the sternal plane, and it is bounded on each side by the mediastinal pleura. That is the mediastinal part of the pleura covering the lungs. So we'll be looking at contents of the superior mediastinum. For arteries, we have four arteries. We have the arch of the aorta, we have brachiocephalic artery, left common carotid artery, and left subclavian artery. Then for veins, we have right and left brachiocephalic vein. We have the upper half of the superior vena cava. We have the left superior intercostal vein. Then for nerves, we have three nerves. We have phrenic nerve, vagus nerve, sympathetic trunk, and cardiac nerves, right and left. For lymph organs and lymphatics, we have lymph nodes, we have the thoracic duct, we have the thymus. For tubes, we have the trachea, we have the esophagus. Then for muscles, we have the stenoid, stenothyroid, and longus colli. That is all for the content of the superior mediastinum. So we'll take a look at the anterior mediastinum next. Okay, so the anterior mediastinum, as you can see in this diagram, is the part painted purple. It forms the anterior mediastinum, and the anterior mediastinum is bounded anteriorly by the body of the sternum. It is bounded posteriorly by the anterior border of pericardium covering the heart. It is bounded superiorly by the sternal plane, as shown in the diagram, as you can see, passing from the sternal angle to the lower border of the fourth thoracic vertebra. It is bounded inferiorly by the diaphragm, as you can see in the diagram displayed, and it is bounded on each side by the mediastinal pleura. The contents of the anterior mediastinum include loose areolar tissue, superior and inferior sternopericardial ligament stretching between the sternum and the pericardium, 3 or 4 lymph nodes, mediastinal branch of internal thoracic artery and lower portion of thymus, as you can see in children. So the next thing we'll talk about is the middle mediastinum. Okay guys, talking about the middle mediastinum, it is indicated in yellow in this diagram, but let us use another diagram to explain what the middle mediastinum is. So the middle mediastinum is the middle part of the mediastinum. It is bounded anteriorly by anterior mediastinum. It is bounded posteriorly by posterior mediastinum. It is bounded inferiorly by the diaphragm, and it is bounded superiorly by the superior mediastinum. So the contents of the middle mediastinum include the heart, include the pericardium, which is the covering of the heart, includes the ascending aorta, pulmonary trunk, which divides into two pulmonary arteries. You have the pericardiophrenac arteries. You have lower half of superior vena cava, azygos vein, its terminal part, pulmonary veins right and left. You have phrenic and deep cardiac plexus, and you have lymph nodes such as the tracheobronchial lymph nodes, and you have the bifurcation of the trachea. You have right and left principal bronchus. So that will be all for the middle mediastinum. Let's look at the last but not the least, posterior mediastinum. Okay guys, so the last but not the least is the posterior mediastinum. As you can see, it is indicated in blue on my right hand side. So the posterior mediastinum is bounded anteriorly by the posterior pericardium and its content, meaning that it is bounded anteriorly by the middle mediastinum, and it is bounded also anteriorly by the bifurcation of the trachea. It is also bounded anteriorly by the pulmonary vessels. Posteriorly, it is bounded by the bodies of the lower 8 thoracic vertebrae and their intervertebral discs. It is bounded superiorly by the sternal plane that separates the superior from the inferior mediastinum, which is the sternal, that horizontal line that comes from the sternal angle to the lower border of the 4th thoracic vertebra. It is bounded inferiorly by the diaphragm, as shown in the diagram. It is bounded on each side by the mediastinal pleura. So that is all for the boundaries of the posterior mediastinum. Let's take a look at its content. The content of the posterior mediastinum include the esophagus, as you can see in this diagram. It includes the thoracic duct. It includes the descending thoracic aorta and its branches, as you can see in the diagram. It includes the azygos, hemiazygos, and the accessory hemiazygos veins. As you can see in the diagram, it includes the vagus nerve, the sympathetic trunk and splenic nerve, and finally it includes the posterior mediastinal lymph node. So that is all for the content of the posterior mediastinum. Okay guys, that will be all for the mediastinum. You can drop your questions in the comment section. Also, you can let me know on what next to talk about. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, click the notification button to get notified when we make new videos, and also like this video. Thank you and do have a wonderful time.